thanks to data. Yeah, if you are able to explain it in 140 words and able to explain it in 1 minute, then your problem statement is very good. Secondly, if you are able to address my customer, employee, or my investor, then as a business, I am your customer. Because those are the three categories of people that I am interested in. I don't care about anything else. Right? So, with that, I'm here to have a conversation. Right? I'm not from an academic background. So, like professors before, I don't have a lot of material to discuss. Right? But that said, I come with a lot of industry experience and industry knowledge, and as Rajesh brother said, we look at researchers as people who are bored, they do some work, they get a PhD and they disappear. That is a perception. That's the perception, right? But each one of you have an opportunity to change that perception, right? And there can be two types of research. One is something that is valuable, useful now, which means as a consumer, you need to find the demand. Is there a demand? This is the topic I'm interested in, right? Is there a demand for this? How do you do that? You will have to do surveys. You need to talk to people. Is there a real demand? You find a demand. So that is one type of research. The second type is what we call as breakthrough. Never happened before. Consumer doesn't know what they want, right? And an example there would be Henry Ford, right? If somebody had asked Henry Ford 100 years back, what do you need now? They would have said the fastest running horse. That was what people explained. But what did he invent? A car. It was not even so that's called breakthrough, right? The expectation is some of you are able to create that kind of breakthrough, and it is possible. Even Apple, Steve Jobs, nobody thought about carrying music in hand. The best we had was a Walkman, right? This man didn't ask the consumer. He said, I know what the consumer needs. But they are very few. But most often they're not. The first category is very, very helpful. Find the demand, find the topic, and then start your research. And the clarity of thought will come as you try to simplify it. And then it will be very precise. And for that, the guidelines is 1 minute and 140 words. Yeah? So any questions or comments in just this idea? Because this is what we are going to discuss today. I'm scared now because there are a lot of questions in statistics. No questions for business.
Where to set the demand?
Sorry?
Where to set the demand?
If I give you the answer, I might as well do the research. That is your job as a. So I was talking to Professor Suresh this morning. Yeah. So one of the interesting aspects of any research is the journey of the research, not the outcome itself. And you need to have a very open mind through the journey, because you never know when you have to change course. You never know when you are going to land with a different thought process. As the professor was explaining, you are looking at data. You might be surprised to find something new. So you should be open. So to answer your question, where to find the demand? If there was a database of demand, right, and then there is a database of supply, then PhD is 5 lakh rupees, you're done. What is the point, right? So, sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. I'm just telling you a very practical aspect, because I come from business, right? And so I care about numbers. But then there is a process that you have to go through. You have to find your demand. And the demand will come from your problem statement. As you refine your problem statement, the demand will come.
So, for the present scenario, I can suggest that the present scenario is of mobile. So this industry is flourishing like anything. So one of your friend who is
Mic on. Mic on.
Yeah, I think I got the gist of your question,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
So brother was telling the present scenario, everything has to be available in a mobile, and there are a lot of people thriving with mobile apps, right? So again, mobile app is a means, right? It's a delivery means. That is, whatever research you do, you could use mobile app as an end tool where you can deliver your research. So absolutely a good idea. So you had a
Sometimes there is a possibility that there is a need. Need is identified, but demand is not there because awareness is not. And that's conditions also without demand.
No, I think that is a fair point. But then you as a practitioner, whose job is to create the awareness. So if you think about, I am a mechanical engineer sitting in one corner of the world, right? Nobody knows I'm a mechanical engineer. There's absolutely no demand for mechanical engineers, right? So there has to be awareness created. So I, as a logistics professional, right? My job is transporting goods, right? And if you look at Brahma Kumaris, they transport, mental thoughts, right? So how come there are 8,500 plus branches? How come there are millions of devotees, right? So there's a lot to learn to create the demand, right? Because it's not rocket science, but it is hard work. It is hard work, and demand will come when there is supply for the right kind of problem. So identifying the problem statement and then go do it. The business will say yes or no. We don't have time to hear lectures. You help us explain in 1 minute. I like it, I say yes. I don't like it, I say I don't know what you're talking about. So that is also possible, right? So now
categories, you have given only three, like is the consumer and the investor.
right.
And what about the technician?
Sorry, where is the question coming from?
You have given three categories.
Right, sorry.
You have given three categories.
Right.
Employees, customers, and investor. But what about the technician?
Technicians are employees.
Employees, it comes under employees.
Employees, they are employees. Right? Yeah, we have suppliers, we
Okay,
have
category,
various
yeah.
categories, but in general, these three are the primary categories that we are interested in. Now we have a fourth category. Yes,
Mike table.
Yeah, because I'm like really interested in corporate sector. Some people do the corporate sector, but if the corporate sector is really interested in knowing all these new concepts, because this is not done before.
Good question, but I will disagree that you can. I'm going to be a bit rude here because I come from business, and I'm used to straight talk, right? I don't care about yogic sciences. I really don't, right? But if there is a problem, for example, my employees are going through stress and they have mental health issues, you give me a solution. You call it yogic science, you call it something else. I'm interested in that. But if you're trying to sell yogic science, right, as a solution for what problem? The problem is important. What is the problem that you're trying to, solve, right? So as long as you're clear with that, right, yogic science for people who understand, right, there is a lot of meaning. For the others, so in the session earlier, I was taking a scan and I was talking, I was looking at the professor. Wherever he was using examples, there was a lot more easier to consume for people. Business is purely like that. You give us something abstract, you say yogic science, and I'm like, no, we don't deal with it. But if you talk about, I'm going to give you a solution where your investors are going to be much more interested in investing in your company. For that, whatever you are using is a tool. I am very, very interested in that.
So suppose if in my research, if I say that competition is not good, suppose I try to prove that, how the industry will take it? Because the competition is a very normal scenario.
You need to elaborate a bit more.
Okay. Suppose in my research, I prove that competition is not a good thing, we should not be competitive.
Right.
So how the industry will take it?
No, so competition is never a bad thing. So if you think about it, even philosophically, if you don't know what bad is, how are you going to identify good? It's a very simple question. I know a lot of yogi practitioners here, right? But if there is nothing called darkness, you can never identify light. If the world is completely dark, they don't know what light is, right? Then there is light. Similarly, competition is an essential part of business. If there is no competition, there is no demand. That's a very simple concept, right? So there has to be competition. Competition is good, but the only difference that we are going to talk about is the pie is so much, the pie is shared by different people. Increase the size of the pie. Everybody gets a larger share. That's the way business operates. So I am not here to kill competition. I am here to get a bigger share of a larger pie. So that is how industries work. This idea about kill the competition happens in movies and Bollywood. In real life, doesn't exist. Competition is good, right? Are we scared of competition? Absolutely yes. But we have to work doubly in order to increase the size of the pie and get a larger share. I hope I am answering your question.
Excuse me, sir. I want to just give a feedback about your question about the competition. Whether competition is right or wrong for the industry or business. With one example, we can understand very easily. What Hindustan Unilever Limited produce Fair and Lovely. Everyone is doing Fair and Lovely. And earlier, this product has been launched in the market, and this product is number 1 in the market. And everyone are using Fair and Lovely, and Fair and Lovely cream is for women only. But still, youth of the country has started this cream because there was no option. And this company was number 1. Earlier, Imami, Core Plus, identify the market that Fair and Lovely has been used by the girls only, and for the boys, no such cream is there in the market, right? So immediately he started a campaign, advertisement and promotion. This is Fair and Lovely for the girls. And girls have soft skin, they are there always in shadow, and this is for her. For boys, you are a very strong man, you have to move here and there by bike, your skin is very hard. For you, there is a recommended cream that is Fair and Handsome. And Fair and Handsome has been launched in the market. Due to that, this comparison has been brought up. As a marketer and industrialist, we have to understand that where is the market. We have to understand where is the market, and accordingly we have to identify our market. हमें पता लगाना होगा कि कहाँ पे market हमारा है और कहाँ पे business opportunity है. एक strategy आता है business growth में. एक business में एक strategy होता है that is business growth and business sustainability. एक PLC होता है प्रोडक्ट लाइफ साइकिल में. जैसे ही आपका एक मार्केट में आपका बिल्कुल सिचुएशन स्टेज में मार्केट आ जाता है, इमीडिएटली यू हैव टू लुक आफ्टर न्यू मार्केट. तो आप उसको बिजनेस ग्रोथ में नए मार्केट में आ जाते हैं एंड धीरे धीरे अपने बिजनेस का बढ़ाते हैं. तो जो मार्केट अपॉर्चुनिटी है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द कंपटीशन है, यू हैव टू किल द कंपटीशन, यू हैव टू बीट द कंपटीशन एंड यू हैव टू सेग्रेगेट योरसेल्फ. आपको बिल्कुल एक डिफरेंट आइडियोलॉजी, डिफरेंट प्रोडक्ट्स, यूनिक प्रोडक्ट्स ये मार्केट में आपको लॉन्च करना पड़ेगा, तभी आप आगे बढ़ सकते. So competition is not a very healthy, very good for the consumer as well as company too. Otherwise monopoly market हो जाएगा, मजा नहीं आएगा. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So again, let's keep it in the context of the research. Yes, we went into shampoos and everything, but the idea is the research work that you are producing has to have demand, and you have to be very clear with the problem statement and what problem are you solving. Because I have seen a lot of research papers lies in library, right? And I don't think that's the right place for research work, right? So what happens after that, I don't need to explain, right? I would rather have, corporates, organizations, companies running after you. The second request from the researchers is, the more you develop these thought processes into your research, when you turn yourself into academicians, it will have a multiplier effect. So we become a more prosperous society, because money for good. So business has this rap of business is bad, they are bloodsuckers. I disagree with that, right? Because we are here to have a life. We want to have a fair life, right? So within the context of that, it is possible to thrive. And if you are able to create demand, if you are able to identify what are the areas for consumers, we want customers. We are hungry for customers. Every year we spend millions of dollars in customer acquisition, right? So if your research in yogic sciences, right, you can call it whatever you want, right, is going to help us get more customers. Guess what? I can drive a small piece of that to you, right? But then you need to have that thought, and it takes a lot of effort. I was earlier, I heard a question. I think that brother there, so he was asking, I'm going to do, feedback and survey with my friends and relatives, right? Yeah, it seems convenient, but is that why you are doing your research? Is a question you need to ask yourself, right? Because if it is just a 3-letter acronym that you are interested in, come see me separately, there are a million ways to do it, right? But considering the organization you are associated with, right, and your intentions, it has to be a larger purpose. It has to be clearly solving a problem. And business is good because business brings in money, right? With money, you can do a lot more. And it's a self-fulfilling cycle. You can keep doing it a lot more. Because if you're looking at business without money, what happens? No idea will take shape. It will all die. Yeah? Sorry, I know sister there had a comment or a question. I think.
Just wanted to give an example what she was telling. Maybe if she can connect like the solution, how meditation just 10 minutes will help in improving the performance of an employee or something like that. They should be able to connect it.
Absolutely, and that's an absolutely good point. And now we spoke about 3 components. I'm going to introduce another component which is not very prevalent in India yet, but at a global level it is becoming an important topic. So these days, beyond beyond employees, customers and investors, we are interested in ESG. ESG, how many of you are familiar with ESG? Yes, few hands up. Brilliant. It is a global concept and it is a non-financial instrument because you can't measure ESG. It is becoming more and more important. So as we as a nation are becoming an economic powerhouse, we cannot be ignorant of ESG. Yeah. E stands for environment. Yeah. S stands for social and G for governance. Yeah. So these 3 areas. Now, for example, the organization I work for in DHL, we have clear metrics where each employee's salary is tied to achieving those metrics. So that is coming to India also. Why? Because of our population, our polity, and so many things, it's not an important topic yet, but it will become important because investors are saying, we will not invest in you if you don't have an ESG policy and if you are not having an ESG metrics. Yeah, so that's the 4th dimension that businesses are looking at, and that's a complete greenfield area. Imagine opening up your research to ESG areas. It's an amazing opportunity. It's just getting started and there's a lot more potential. For example, in the environment space, we as a company have signed up to the United Nations Climate Pact, and by 2050, we will be net zero carbon neutral. What does it mean? We are a company with 600,000 employees. We own about 200 planes. We own about 200,000 trucks. So we basically produce a lot of carbon. Yeah, so we are going carbon neutral, means we are investing a lot in the E part of the ESG. Yeah, so that's an opportunity. How do you change people's mindset to take environment seriously? Yeah, we have taken green revolution and all these things. Those are all nice. Don't get me wrong. But when people give it the flavor of charity, businesses are not interested. They're just not interested. Right? But If you take it as something that is good for business, then we are interested. Yeah. Then the second part, the social part. We, the societies in which we are operating in, it becomes our responsibility to become integrated part of those societies and contribute to the better of the society. That's become so important now. So all the MNCs, any MNC operating in India, you will see an ESG policy. Take a look at it. Spend an hour. Some research topics will come up. Talk to your guides. I'm sure they'll be happy to support you. Yeah. So there are places where you can get ideas. Governance, right? Imagine we are a country for good or bad reasons known for corruption. And this is based on the World Corruption Index. We don't rate very well, yeah, unfortunately. So that's governance and corporate governance, right? How well governance is maintained within a company. What are the different tools that you can develop so that governance can be really maintained at a high standard? So that is the entire ESG area is a greenfield area. And there are a lot of topics. You just take an ESG report either from Pricewaterhouse or my own company, my employer, DPDHL, so many other companies. Spend some time. Best case, you'll get a research topic. Worst case, you'll gain a lot of knowledge on that very important topic, which is beyond any business. Because ESG has an impact on entire human race, I was going to say, but entire Earth. Every planet, every animal, every plant, every ocean we have, it has an impact. And the corporates have started taking the right step. And I'm very sure taking the PK value system and applying it to the ESG concepts will be a brilliant merger of two important aspects. Right? So some thoughts to consider. Right? Any other comments, questions? As I said,
You are telling about the ESC, but in our area, Tirupur, Coimbatore, and Zero, the people who are doing that hitting, and they are letting all the dirty.
good question, sir. So there is an important aspect of ESG that we are all interested in. Imagine this, and let's be honest with ourselves, right? When we are watching television and we are watching news, and there is a news that a farmer, has suicided and dead because of hunger, we all go crazy. We are all upset. The next meal is very difficult to digest for us, because we are seeing that we cannot handle the plight of the farmer. Same thing fast forward. So after that scene is over, next scene we are walking into a grocery shop, right? And the grocer says, I'm increasing for 5 rupees per kilo for this product to the farmer. There also we are not happy. So ESG is not a zero-sum game. Whether it is the waste going into that, somebody has to spend money. Are we willing as a society, right? Are we willing to pay that extra 5 rupees so that the farmer can benefit and the society can benefit? The answer is, unfortunately, we have double standards. When it comes to environment, when it comes to a farmer, dying, we are so sad. But when prices go up, also we are sad, right? So I think ESG is not a zero-sum game. To your point, somebody has to spend money to clean that, right? Who is going to spend the money?
Government.
So government is unfortunately not an answer for everything, sir. If you follow Mr. Narayana Murthy from Infosys and Nandan Nilekani's book, right, The Flat World, right, he would have clearly written Infosys became Infosys in spite of the government, not because of the government. Because they didn't wait for electricity to appear at the operations. They set up power plant. They said, I am into this business. So we need strong conviction. मुझे करना है, करके दिखाना है, because it is not for somebody else, right? It is for me and my future generations, right? Then we will not look at money, we will forget government. Once people are going, the government will follow us. But it needs strong conviction. Sir, please.
Like paying more for the organic food so that that is propagated and the farmer is benefited. That can also be.
No, absolutely. Yeah, this whole organic food, right? So we are all happy that it is good quality. This is not used and that is not used. But we look at the rate: 85 rupees, 8 rupees, 8 rupees, 10 packets. Right? So I think the idea of ESG is brilliant to make it practical. We as consumers, we as citizens, we need to be having very strong conviction that this is important for me, right? Because when the minute we bring government, it means we are not interested. That's a hidden message. Again, sorry for being a bit rude. I'm not saying government doesn't have a role. Government does have a role. For example, one of my favorite examples is if you take Tamil Nadu, right? The entire state GDP is about 23 lakh crores. 23 lakh crores. Yeah, that's a big money. But if you look at the Tamil Nadu government budget, it's 2.5 lakh crores. 2.5 lakh crores, only 10%. Where is the 90%? Who is spending it? You and me, the people. It's my brother, it's my sister, it's my uncle. That's the economy. Yes, government has a role to play, but we should force government not by slogans, but by action. If we run and we say we are going to clean this up, the government will come after us. Yeah. Any other thoughts, comments?
Yes,
Yes. Listen.
Regarding that throwing chemical in river, basically today, okay, I am thinking that, while investing, I'll take care that tomorrow there may be a ban on this particular industry. This industry can come to close because of throwing the chemical when there will be a strong governance or the government will become conscious of that. So naturally, while investing, an investor may think in this kind of term also.
Yes, sir. Let me give you a counter example. Yeah, one of the best business cases against corruption in India. How many of you know the name Shell? It's a Dutch petrochemical company. Yeah, Shell Corporation. In the early 80s, made their first attempt to come to India. Yeah, so this was in early 80s. So then it was a senior Indian who was working in Den Haag, which is the Hague, right, the capital of Netherlands, at the Shell capital. So he was, sent to India to set up operations in India. So the man comes down with a lot of his global experience, and he wants to do some good for the country and for his company as well. So in 1 year, they decided not to set up operations in India. The reason? Corruption. He was going from ministry to ministry to ministry, and he was asked for money in every department, right? Shell took the stance with that CEO that they will not have operations in India, and he went back to Den Haag. That's a very strong stand. Guess what happened next? 2 consecutive central governments sent people to Netherlands begging Shell to set up operations here. It's the stance we take. As an investor, they are an investor. They took a strong stance and they said, this is the way we operate. And they stood to it. Unfortunately, most Indian companies and Indian multinationals do not have that standard. Again, I'm broad brushing corporates. But think about it, who are those corporates? It is us. It is my brother, it is my uncle, it is my sister. They are the corporates. It's human beings. It's made out of one Mukesh Ambani sitting on top is not making all the decisions. There are millions of our family members who are part of those corporations for making these decisions. So I agree with you, but there have been companies that take very tough stance and have been successful. The government went back Shell. Now they are one of the most successful companies in India, right? Same DHL. Our sales guys are extremely unhappy bunch. Why are they unhappy? Because competitors are able to take customers to parties and get the business. Yeah, very common in India. But our company took a stand, get the business what you come with ethical means. Ethics is extremely important in our organization. So there are many companies who have taken this ethical dimension and said, this is what we are interested in, this is how we will make money, this is what our employees are interested in, this is what our customers look for us, this is what our investors are interested in. And they take those tough stands. So it is possible. And if that has to start, right, it can start with you here as researchers producing evidence that this is good for business. Second, it will start because you're going to go back into academics, you're going to produce a bunch of other students who are ethical walking out of your institutions, right? And that's the way it starts. And the additional opportunity you have is to merge, right? So that it is not uniquely just business, it's us with our culture, broader value system. Yeah?
Sir, with regard to, you have just mentioned BK values with ECG policies. Now the Ministry of Corporate Affairs introduced the CSR funding for encouraging the research. It was some experience to me also that corporate encouraged me to look into their problems which are being affected by the company's pollutants to the population. Now in that case, ethically, I found that how I can compromise to encourage that and go for the research when the same company is doing the pollution for the population, and for that population, they want to find out a model or design a model or do some welfare activity model to show on the record that with our funding, the life of the people or the lifestyle of the people has been increased.
So I think, I don't know if everybody got the question. The question is, we're going to a company, we're looking at the CSR, we are able to utilize, ethical research and all of that. But the same company is also responsible for polluting, doing all the other activities. How do you, mix these two? I honestly don't know the answer, right? But that said, I can give my views. I can give my views on it, and I'm sure there are many learned people who can give their views as well. My personal view on something like that is, if you have a business that is doing pollution for 50 years, how do you stop it? How do you stop that cycle immediately? It is almost impossible.
Maybe by inflicting stringent laws.
Yes, sir, it has not worked, unfortunately, practically not worked. So I think the change has to be gradual, the change has to be measurable, right? That is the only way to do it. So the first step they have taken, which is CSR and investing in ESG, that's a good first step, right? So when they have taken the first step to make use of legal provisions. Now, this provision of ESG is also coming into the annual general reports of the organizations. Now, how do we catch that and how do we make progress? Yeah, there is a very process that we have in this country and maybe around the world, which is the opposite of success is failure and opposite of failure is success, right? But I think if we have the goal of progress, right, success will happen for sure, because you are constantly looking at progress. We have stopped in this factory, we have stopped in this department, right? That is the only way we can move, because as a business, we can clearly say, let's take company ABC, right? Company ABC is having 10 factories. We look at ABC is producing pollution. If we shut down those 10 factories, there are 10,000 employees. 10,000 employees with families. And there is a system of commerce around them, whether it is calling Dobiwala, any shops, everybody. Are you going to shut down all of that overnight? It's not possible. On the other hand, if we take the stance that This department, we are going to be stricter on ESG this year. We are going to see how that is going to work, learn from it, make it better in the next department, and then the next factory, and then over the next 10 years, we are able to make it. Because when we have to change, make change to our own life, right? It has to be gradual. It cannot be overnight. A person, even who is a heavy smoker, cannot stop smoking overnight. I don't have that experience, but I've seen in my close circles, right, my friends. So it is not possible to suddenly stop. That's a moral high ground. It is good for a discussion, maybe even for research papers, but in terms of practicality, you need to make it gradual, you need to make it successful so that it can be used by everybody.
The people will die when they
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
action very, very late. Because it happened in a Sterlite case at Tirunelveli.
Correct.
People revolted and about 15 people have died by shooting. And they immediately stopped and closed that factory.
Again, we can have a separate conversation on this one, sir, because I have my own view on Sterlite. I'm also worried about the 10,000 people who lost their jobs. Yes, there were 4 people with flags.
But 10,000, that 10 lakhs of people are to be covered.
So it is a conversation we can have. Definitely interested, but that is my view. I'm sure there are other views on how can corporates handle this.
Sir, one
Sir,
thing
I
I would
request
like
you
to
to-
is like when you were talking about the CSR and the company doing it, we had it produces the cancer medicines and the groundwater is completely polluted, the whole thing, and you are telling about the connectivity. So one thing what they can do is the CSR can be used for what problem they are causing, solutions to that can be one of the solutions rather than it investing somewhere in India in some other category in that list. Maybe they can connect to the local and to the problem what they are contributing. That can be one of the things.
So maybe I will respond to you and sir, after that. So just again, think about the product that they produce. You said medicines, yeah. So I don't know what the cost of that medicine is. Let's say per unit is 10 rupees. You go to that factory and tell them, I as a consumer, don't pollute me. I will give you 20 rupees tomorrow. They will stop it. Are we able to do it too? Again, we are all beating around the bush, but there are straight answers. There are straight answers. If it is somebody's problem, it will never be our problem. The solution can start with us. We as consumers are the solution. When we look at problem, we look at as somebody else's. Yes, CSR is a good idea, but it's a very small portion, ma'am. And it is mostly for corporates to go on the stages, say hi, get some shawls, put on their Facebook. That is the intention of CSR. To be very honest, yes, we do some good work, but it's a very small number. It cannot move the needle much. But think about the solution I propose, a bit dramatic. Yeah, instead of 10 rupees, I'm willing to pay 20 rupees. I'm sure they'll put all the best systems in the world to stop pollution. But are we able to do that? Who will take that burden? Sir, please.
With respect to all my students, I would like to say one thing. This is where all the researchers will play a very, very crucial role. There is a problem. The factory is polluting, and they are concerned about it. That's why they are into these global practices, environmental practices. There is intention, but they need to focus on business. They are unable to focus on this. If the researcher can provide, a practical solution, very economical solution, where the pollution doesn't take place, that is extraordinary, and everyone is ready to do it. For example, plastic. We are speaking about chemicals, but we are all using washing powder every day. The factory definitely creates a lot of pollution, but we are the consumers. Have we stopped using washing powder? We need to do that. We need to find some other alternatives. If not, can there be a solution to eliminate that or convert it into a productive thing? For example, the plastic. Recently, our ministers of road, Nathan Gadkari, tried to use plastics on roads, to convert it into the road formations. So that's an innovation. So So if this, as researchers, if we can practically find out some solution which could address this problem, bigger problem, then all the industries would be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So that is actually the essence of my discussion topic today, right? So two or three key takeaways, right? So one, be clear on your problem statement. What is the problem you are trying to solve? So that is the why. Answer that so that you can explain in less than 1 minute and less than 140 words. Then even a stupid executive like me can easily understand. I have time for you. You have a lot of time for 4 years to do research, but I don't have time because for me, time is money and I get paid for that, right? Again, I'm being a bit dramatic, but this is a practical fact, right? So that is so important. Once you are able to create that, create the demand or find the demand. There is a lot of demand. There's lots and lots of demand, right? And validate the demand because some of it is perception, right? Is perception reality? Who will tell you? The consumer will tell you. So the companies like, whether it is washing powder or soap, they spend billions of dollars on research. What do? They speak to consumers, right? Is that a step, first step? I sincerely believe, and I hope the professors, will agree with me, that is a good first step. Find, where the demand is, find whose problem you're solving. It doesn't have to be a global problem solved globally because we will spend 2 lifetimes on that, right? It can be a very simple, small problem. It can be a small community, small society, small organization, small company. It doesn't matter. But be very specific. There you will get the population for your research. You can use the how for the research professor said, and you can do the what with the BK value system. Everything comes together. But start with the why, right? As far as I'm concerned, why is the place where you start? Why are you doing this? And what are you trying to solve? And then the how and everything, there are a lot of researchers here, a lot of professors who will much more learned than me. They will guide you. They will be happy to be associated because now it is also not only creating a purpose for you, it creates a fascination and purpose for them as well to be engaged with you. Otherwise, you are doing something, create PowerPoints, create reams of paper, and it sits in a library somewhere. So that is my ask for the entire population today. Hopefully, that is what I wish. My wife is a student part of this group, so hopefully you will have an opportunity to come back and see you with some great ideas.
So should we should we choose topic related to business or a research group?
Sorry?
Should we choose topic related to business or a research group?
Good question. Everything is business. The minute you have more than 2 people, there is business happening already. 2 people having an engagement versus the third person coming will try to influence one of the other 2, becoming a bit more stronger. Business is already happening. So you disassociate the word business from it, right? It can be institution, it can be organization. It's a collection of people.
Because there are 2 variables, that is why it's a business.
Sorry?
Because there are 2 variables used, more than 2, that is why it is a business.
It is a business, yes. Because there is a demand and there is a supply.
Okay.
Yeah, so business is a very broad term. I request you to take the bad connotation about business. I would even dare say without business, there is no human existence. And there are 2 institutions that we are all grateful for who created the business in its form and shape today. One is the Vatican Church and then the military. These are the 2 institutions from which the business as it exists today, with the CEO and the CFO and the entire structure and how it is managed, comes, believe it or not, from religion and from military. That's where it comes from. So everything is business. So don't look at this business as a company that is profit making. right?
Very good
Business
answer.
is any organization with bunch of individuals having an activity. You can call that as a business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Somebody was saying something here. Did I miss anything?
Very
No.
good.
So with that,
Thank you very much.
yes, please.
Bundle of things. Bundle of मैंने भी दुकान दी दोस्त सारी
Sorry, you can take the mic.
गुजरा गया
Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, you were talking about ESG, but as ESG is upcoming, so is greenwashing. So, what would the businesses prefer, greenwashing or doing ESG?
I wish I could give you an answer to that. Right? Again, my objective as a business is to throw problems at you. You come up with a solution. What makes sense? What is feasible? Right? Because there's something called feasibility. Right? And sir will tell you what variables to use for that. I am not an expert in that. Right? So maybe or may not be. I have no idea. Right? What is right? What might be right for my family and my situation might be different from some other family. Right? So it is a very, it's a difficult answer for me to give for everybody, right? But is there a set of people who are interested in that? Would that become your research topic? Perhaps. Why not? Right? So,
Sir, I have a very small question.
please.
Any amount of regulation, will this help in dealing with these problems?
Unfortunately, my experience going around the world, regulation doesn't help.
Yeah, this is what
Because, for example, one of the best use cases around the world is controlling drugs. We as a country have a lot of drug problems, right? Now, the most accepted model around the world for drug control is what Netherlands does. Because they took the word control out. It's freely available, but we don't find drug addicts all around Netherlands. Because anything, even as parents, the more you control, your kids want to play around with that.
Yeah.
Even as individuals. So my thought, this is my view, sir. I'm not an absolute authority, but my view is, I think as the controls increase, it becomes even more difficult, particularly in our system, because for every control, there are a million loopholes. Right? So it has to be self-regulated. I would say lesser regulation is better because lesser regulation means demand goes down. Demand goes down, right? So I was talking to the driver on the way Ahmedabad to here. He said the most notorious state for alcohol apparently is Gujarat because it's a dry state.
Yeah.
So that says a lot. And looking at Netherlands, I am convinced personally that lesser regulation is better because there is no demand and then automatically things will fall in place. That is my personal view.
If there is a humanitarian approach by the government by framing the regulations, will this help?
It will certainly help, sir. So I was talking to one of the politicians without putting names, right? So I was asking, he happened to be my college alumni. So through the alumni network, I met him. So I was talking to him and asking him, say, I'm not interested in politics, but how can I help politics? How can I help politics, right? His view was, not all politicians are by nature bad. That is his view. He said, not all politicians are by nature bad. But if people like yourself, he was talking to me, people like yourself engage with the politicians and guide them and coach them, right? There is a possibility they can also get better and they can bring in better policies. But do we have that time? Do we have the energy? Are we really interested? Because our focus is on complaining and bad-mouthing. This is what we have done, and thankfully the media is benefiting from that, and we are into that. So I think lesser regulation is good, and we politicians who are conscious that whatever they are doing is not only impacting you and me, but their own next generation. I think that is where the power will come. But I think yes, lesser regulation I think is good for us.
Thank you.
No, ma'am. So again, maybe just one example, and I'll close it off after that, right? For time's sake, right? So the more regulation you have, ma'am, so we have more and more people finding loopholes, and that's where corruption starts, right? You know, you go to the ATM, put your card, bring the money out. It's your money, it's in the ATM. There's no regulation there, right? There is zero corruption also. The minute you put a person and the person has to validate something and do something, one step in regulation, it increases the probability of corruption. So that is the perspective I'm taking. I'm not saying regulation should not be there. I think, you know, humans by nature are self-regulated to a large extent. I don't think anybody is born bad, right? But it's the society and the circumstances. So as the society, this society here enhances, the broader society also enhances, and I think in that sense, lesser regulation is better for us.
So as per your statement, no court, no law, nothing. We set free.
Sure, sir. Let's go back to the jungles. We'll all be happy. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and we'll continue the conversation.
Just sharing information. Sir, you threw more light on environmental, social governance. It is very new to me. Before I introduce myself, I am G.S. Venkataraman, retired IRS officer, Ministry of Finance. Regarding subject, also I know better. I was an officer in charge. There is a sideline. But coming to the main topic, Brahmakumaris have taken initiative on environmental initiative as back as 2009. A team has been formed under Soja Pogarsan, and they are conducting regular conferences also, not late anything on that. So since you threw light on environment, we can get more information by these talks and all that Brahmakumaris initiative of 2009. I am having a lot of things on that. You threw light for that. I thank you.
Thank you very much. So another resource for you to find more, demand, right? So again, thank you so much for the opportunity, particularly to Dr. Suresh, who asked me to speak. I did not know what to do, so I didn't prepare any slides. Hopefully, it was useful in creating some thinking, which was the intention of the session. Thank you for the opportunity.
तालियां थोड़ी कम बजिए। Thank you so much. आप सभी लोग बहुत ही ध्यान से, बहुत अटेंशन से और इसको स्टडी कर रहे हो। और हमारे जो स्पीकर्स हैं, उनको भी आपसे बहुत अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स मिल रहा है। और हमारे जो मैं आपको मैसेज देता हूँ, हमारे वाइस चांसलर Hari Kumar ji, you know what his observation? Yes, what he is saying is I have never seen so much sincere students. Once again, I would like to thank you very much, Anil. He's so humble, so nice, being at such a great position, and we are so lucky that we got his ideas and the global view. You had so many questions from different aspects.
Yeah. Mind interaction.
So it was, I think, saying it was a mind interaction. So I think your mind has become now global instead of localized.
Yeah.
So we are becoming more liberal than to be orthodox. Thank you so much. Thank you. छोटी सी चाबी है किसी की, पहले भी अनाउंस किया था, लगता है किसी को जरूरत नहीं है, कोई आया नहीं लेने। छोटा सा ताला है, वैसे भी तो खुद ही तोड़ सकते हैं।
भंडारी में डाल।
और ये भी पता है कि जो अंदर आते आते किसी की गिरी है, ये भी देखा है किसी ने कि किसी की गिरी है। अब जिनकी है ये या तो थोड़ा ध्यान से देख लीजिए अच्छे से, छोटी सी। और अभी भी जब पिछली बार 1 घंटे पहले बताया था, उसके 10 मिनट पहले गिरी। काउंटर पे रखिए। थैंक यू।
अभी हमारा 4 बजे सेशन होगा। डॉक्टर सुरेश जी लेंगे, जिन्होंने कल लिया था स्पिरिचुअलिटी पे। उनका टॉपिक रहेगा सोशल साइकोलॉजी। फिर आपका 5 से लेके 5:30 तक ब्रेक होगा। फिर 5:30 बजे first will be Dr. B. Suresh, and thereafter 5:30 to 6:30 will be by me.
Dr. Suresh, very important topic, neuroscience. Every day you are getting new things to come to know. और कल उनका बहुत अच्छा सेशन था, उन्होंने पहले आपको थोड़ा बताया, फिर इंटरेक्शन हुई, क्वेश्चन आंसर्स हुए. तो अगेन अभी पता लग गया ना सबको कि आपको किस, because every day we will come out with new ideas. ऐसा नहीं कि हमारा फिक्स है. हम हमारी शाम को भी मिलते हैं, दोपहर को भी मिलते हैं, आपके आइडियाज नोट करते हैं किसको क्या चाहिए. एवरी क्वेश्चन विल बी आंसर्ड. आपके जो हर क्वेश्चन आप पूछ रहे हो उनके हर क्वेश्चन का आंसर आपको मिलेगा.